Good morning from the CNET New York Studios. It's episode 207 of the 359 podcast. My name is BVG, and in the house today we've got Alfred and Joan E. Solsman. What is in our headlines?
So much stuff, and it's only Monday.
As you said, a 4 out of 10 day.
It is a 4 out of 10 day, April 10th. So we've got three great stories today. We're leading with Joan's story about her interview with the father of the internet, Vint Cerf, who is pretty disappointed with the lack of tech accessibility going on the computer, which is, everything should be amazing, but it isn't.
Right.
Then we've got another great story coming out of Louisville, Kentucky. Basically about a weekend hackathon that all these coders go through. They volunteer their time to make the city, kind of like a smart city. It's led to really cool programs that people that live in Louisville can access. Helping create like the smart smoke detectors in like vacant homes. We've talked about this on previous podcasts. But people don't get paid for this. They volunteer on weekends just to do that.
Yeah. And that's what you need, because if you had to pay, that's why local governments can't do it. They can't pay smart coders who get paid a lot.
Yeah. And
to
then,
get that stuff done. Yeah.
And then we'll be talking about Twitter's fumble, because it's football, over the NFL live streaming. And, if they even still have a chance when it comes to live streaming, when they're going up against all these giant companies that, are pretty good at making money.
Yeah. Google, Facebook.
That all have money that Twitter doesn't. So
Yeah.
Snapchat.
Oh no, Snapchat's not even I've looked into Snapchat's numbers. I actually don't know how much more money they make than Twitter. They're just right now they're a very high valuation, but
very, very high.
They're kind of like Twitter when when they went public.
Yeah.
So if anything,
Yeah.
Time will tell.
yep, if they know how to make money too. But yeah, do you want to get started or?
Yeah, let's hang out, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get our little bite-sized 3-minute and 59-second podcast recorder that you can download later at your leisure. And then we'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we'll be joining you in the chat and doing a little live Q&A, as we do every single weekday here from CNET. Now, hold on a second. We're doing a hackathon, so let me hack.
Oh, God, no.
He's typing.
And I'm in.
Welcome to the 359, where we talk about the top tech news of the day and all the other crap we want to throw in. I'm Alfred Ng.
And I'm Joan E. Solsman.
Joan, you spoke with Vint Cerf, the father of the internet, and his thoughts on tech accessibility recently. He's hearing impaired and mentioned how awful it is that computers haven't really adapted well to the way, people need assistive technology. Now, why was he so frustrated by tech's lack of growth with accessibility?
Right. His frustration, I think, stems from the fact that for a long time, accessibility isn't something that's baked into a design process. It's something that designers, programmers, hardware makers kind of sprinkle on at the end. And he was encouraged that things are starting to change, that there's more forethought into making things accessible at the beginning rather than at the end. But it's, to his point, it's been a long time for that sort of attitude to kind of start to take hold.
Now, when he was helping create the internet, though, how much of that was a thought in his process?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he, so for people who don't know, Vint Cerf helped on the DARPA project that's the underpinning for the internet. And he also was instrumental in the beginnings of email. Email is one topic or one technology that was helpful for him as someone who's hearing impaired. When you're using email, you don't have to strain to hear somebody. You can know exactly with precision what they're trying to say because they just wrote it out for you. So that was helpful for him. His wife was also profoundly deaf before she had cochlear implant surgery in the 90s. And he thought it was gratifying that in order for her to find that technology, she used email and the internet to figure out that it existed and set it up.
All right, so our colleague in Kentucky, Ashley Clark Thompson, detailed how volunteer coders in Louisville are helping build a smart city. So on weekends, they volunteer in hackathons where they create projects where, everyday citizens could just go through public data really easily. They can find out kind of cool things like what crimes happen in certain neighborhoods or what days trash pickups are without having to go through all this, bureaucracy stuff. So these projects, actually led to some pretty cool features for Louisville. Like they have these smart smoke detectors that are, if there's a fire in a vacant home, it'll be able to pick that up. And there's another voice assistant for your Google Home or your Echo that they created, which can tell you the air quality around your town. Now, I'm wondering, wouldn't it be kind of cool to have features like these in every city where, what would your idea for in New York, if they had something like this, what would you want?
Oh my gosh, an easy way to complain about bad smells from restaurants. Can we do that? Can we turn 311 into something that's hackathon so it actually works?
I mean, what would be really cool? You know how like on the restaurants in New York they always have like the grades out there,
Yeah.
like A, B, whatever, grade pending,
A
which is
searchable
like
map
terrible.
of that? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that should be something integrated in with like Google Maps. And then so last Tuesday, Amazon announced that it would be streaming the NFL's Thursday night football games, which Twitter had last year. They clearly outbid Twitter for $50 million. And for Twitter, that's pretty bad. I mean, their big focus is on live streaming. And right now, without the NFL, which is America's most popular sport, they're pushing hard for MLB, America's pastime. But as far as a live streaming video platform, does Twitter kind of still have a leg to stand on after losing like this big deal?
Yeah. I mean, this definitely speaks to the fact that Amazon and Google's people that are not struggling like Twitter is, they have the ability to kind of kick the legs out from underneath Twitter. Twitter's kind of fighting on so many fronts that even the thing that it's banking on to be the thing that distinguishes it can't compete, and that's makes it hard.
Well, what is it that Twitter has that makes it stand out from YouTube?
And in a lot of ways, live streaming video on Twitter makes a lot of sense because Twitter is such a live-based platform, but it's also a hobbled platform. It doesn't make money. It's having a hard time making money. It's having a hard time keeping its users.
Well, thanks again for listening, and be sure to check us out on CNET. I'm Alfred Ng.
I'm Joni Solsman.
And we are back and hopping into the chat room, and we got a good question. Well, not a question, more so a profound statement. The internet is now filled with cats, so what's disappointing about that?
That they're not filled with
Dog
dogs.
lovers are very upset.
It's a very easy.
I thought that was just a profound statement. Question, a response, however, to the hacking app. Peldine's an easy app that can give instant info on bad things about companies. Are you talking about us?
Hopefully not.
I mean, I think that's Twitter, actually.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
to an extent, you've got Yelp.
Yeah.
But more, maybe you're saying more rating systems, more or less about a dining experience or a personal experience, as in the review section of like an Amazon transaction fleshed out, maybe.
Yeah.
That might not be a
I mean,
terrible
he
idea.
might also be talking about like companies that do like awful things. Like,
Well, yeah, like maybe if
in
it were
other countries or
especially
something.
since we're talking about local government, if there was a way to know like which pediatricians in your area have been sued the most, like you probably don't want to, that might not show up on
Yeah,
Yelp.
that's like things that usually are in, like I know reporters that have to do that a lot. Where
Yeah.
there was like a big feature story last year, basically about like which childcare centers had been like sued. the most.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and then
or
it-
like which contractors
yeah,
are sued the most.
basically
if
like
you're trying to find
data projects that you
Yeah.
see in newspapers. Like I feel like that'd be something really interesting if like
in real time.
yeah, pretty much yeah.
Danny Green, our old buddy, how about beacons that broadcast restaurant ratings and or health code ratings for any business requiring inspection?
That's actually a pretty good idea. Yeah,
That's a good idea.
I
Again, rounding out something we kind of already have into a more robust type presentation.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about their projects. It's basically it's taking something that like is all out there that you can find on your own, but it's one of those things where it's like you have to go through so many hoops to be able to get it, and then it usually comes in like a PDF form that you can't search. Where it would be so much better if it were, and that's what they're working to make. Like I don't even think there's like a centralized way to find all these like restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
I know in New York they have this really cool project, but where it's basically like you can actually find every single tree in New York City. It's like a trees data project. Where,
Really?
like, they tell you like how long it's been there for,
That's amazing.
what kind of tree it is, and like if you want a tree planted on your block, like there's no tree on it, you can like request the city to come and like plant a tree.
I like that.
Yeah.
I always like the idea of parking space.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where like
You
that
walk
space
in-
is
you're getting
clearly
into a
open.
parking garage, and like I've seen some of them start to implement actual like traffic lights above spaces, but that's pretty far and few in between. But the idea that you could go in and like say it's a chain store like a Target, a Target parking app kind of thing. It pings your location as soon as you log in on your smartphone, and it tells you lane C5 on the 5th level is available. It's like vroom.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
only thing that New York has done so far as parking and technology is that they've made it easier for you to pay your meter, which is nice too. You don't have to
Yeah.
leave a restaurant in the middle. Oh, I need to fill up my meter again. But to find a parking space is definitely, I think, a lot more important than being able to pay it. But
Yeah.
the city's got to make money somehow.
Yeah. Doug B is requesting social media for pets. Doug, I'm sorry,
What?
it already exists. It's called Instagram.
Unless they mean like your dog is allowed to like tweet and stuff. Like,
Well, didn't they experiment with that?
What do you
Wasn't
mean?
there some interactive collar add-on thinking that they could put on a dog that
I
would
s-
interpret it
I
dog
saw
actions?
I saw something like that, but it wasn't like an interactive collar that could interpret it. It was more so like it was like this kind of like Raspberry Pi kind of project where every time like the dog like went out for a walk or something, it would like automatically like tweet out like how far it's walking or something like that. Kind of
That's-
like a Fitbit thing, but
That's
yeah.
what we need, a Fitbit for your dog.
Which I think that exists.
I'm sure it does. Actually, I mean, I guess that's not a terrible idea if somebody's trying to get their pet healthier, if they
Yeah.
got an
Yeah.
overweight dog or an overweight cat.
A
I have one of
Fitbit.
those
But-
myself.
We visualize like the people that are in my Facebook feed, which are like, I ran 3 miles in 4 seconds this morning. It's like,
Yeah, right.
great.
Your dog is an athletic
I
jerk.
walked up my stairs.
I would actually pay to see like a reality show based around that. Wouldn't you? Like
Competitively, like,
the biggest
social
loser for
dogs.
pets.
Oh my god.
So many people would watch that.
We got a
It makes
few
me
minutes
sad.
left in the show, farming out more questions or requests or wish lists for this hacking project. What else? I'm sorry, I'm brain farting. It's Monday. what else we talk about this morning? Oh, the accessibility.
Yes.
Accessibility and Twitter.
The man who helped invent
Yeah.
the internet.
Let's flesh that out a little bit since we've
Yeah.
been
Well,
really,
I mean, one thing I'll say is talking to Vince Cerf, you can appreciate you like just talking to him. You're like, this person is so much smarter than me. Like the man, not by like throwing out like he doesn't sit there and throw out facts or like impress you with things that you can't understand. You can just tell that his mind is more thoughtful in a way that most people aren't able to think.
I mean,
that much.
I agreed with his argument about how it's like, why are people thinking about accessibility as
Yeah.
like an afterthought? Like,
Yeah.
oh, we made this whole thing. Oh crap, we forgot to make it.
Well, one of the things he mentioned is that it's such a youth skewing design system.
Mhm.
So many young people work on it, and one of the like natures of being young is you don't think about the fact that you're eventually going to be old and not be able to see very well.
It's true. I don't think about that.
You're most likely you're going to be more able-bodied. Like
Yeah.
young people just haven't had the chance if they unless they were born or had a disability occur to them through the very early part of their life, then they don't probably
Did
have
he specifically like call out though, like, computer developers for that issue? Because I know that in like the gaming world,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
part of their process. Like when they get started, right now, people that are advocating for video game accessibility, they're trying to get people to get started from that straight from the beginning because it's way more cost effective that way.
Right.
But
And I think so.
yeah.
To answer your question, I think the reason is that with gaming, there's a reward system built in if you have accessibility in your game, because it means that you'll be able to sell your game to a lot more people and make your game more accessible, even to people, able-bodied people
Yeah.
that don't have disabilities. Some of them like to use disability features because it makes them be able to perform better.
Yeah.
So there's already a reward built in. What his argument was that there haven't been enough rewards built into other types of computer and technological design to get people to start thinking about it earlier. And that's part of the problem is that there's not, I don't know if it needs to be artificial or not, but there's not like a reward system built in. to
Is
get people
he
thinking about
kind
it
of more
earlier.
advocating though for like a requirement thing, like it's like a law that like you should
Yeah.
be able to do this, or is he just more saying like, guys, like this is what you should be doing?
I think
Come
it's
on.
a mixture of both.
Okay.
Yeah, not in the interview I had with him, but in some comments he made on the sidelines of. I talked to him at South by, and so he had a panel there, and he mentioned that there needs to be a mixture of like people accepting responsibility, especially like big corporations that have the power to set rewards for their employees, and also there needs a prong of it should be also some sort of legislation or
I was just going to bring that up. I got to
rulemaking.
wonder if that's going to be something that will be regulated sometime in the relative future. Because I mean, you have to have
Yeah.
wheelchair ramps and public buildings and so on and so forth. I wonder if that'll have to become part of the lexicon for.
Maybe.
Yeah, because there's really no guidelines like that, like as part of the law for just browsing around online.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
I agree there should be.
And at this point, a consumer is a consumer is a consumer. They want everybody that they can to be able to get full on in 100%. That's a thought. Sumuka says, how could the Internet of Things take away our jobs? Are we heading towards a jobless future due to Internet of Things and AI?
Depends on what your job is.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, so think about it. Let's go back a few decades, if not centuries, and there were steam engine operators, and eventually that technology became obsolete. They had to repurpose themselves. Like, technology will perpetually obsolescence.
Yeah.
So you need to actually find new ways to make yourself relevant. So if your specialty becomes no longer desirable, yes, that sucks. And yes, us here at this table will probably feel that burn eventually in our lives. Everybody will. But that doesn't mean that jobs are going away. Just because a robot is going to start working that manufacturing line doesn't mean they don't need an engineer, doesn't need to make that robot.
Yeah, but on that questions note though, as far as like related to like the Internet of Things, I mean, unless your job is to, change a light bulb all the time or like change colors on a light bulb, I really, this is more so about like making things, more accessible and, easier for you at home.
Yeah.
Unless they're talking about like because like technically like a smart car is the Internet of Things. And if anything,
True.
That would, completely drive out the entire car service industry and, the taxi industry and all that. So that's one field where that would happen.
But they still need mechanics. And Sumuk, you say I'm a mechanical engineering student. You're golden. You're set. We will always need you.
Okay.
Let's take one quick sidestep into video streaming before we call it a day. Jiffer asks, do you think YouTube will continue to dominate the video format? It's the only format that's truly paying its creators.
Absolutely. I think YouTube will be
Remember how long it really took for them to get legs, though? Like,
Google bought them.
Yeah.
That helped a lot. But that's the thing that made the difference, is that they were able to invest in the kind of infrastructure in order to deliver this like mind-boggling amount of video upload and delivery.
Maybe it happened maybe because it happened when I was like much younger, but like I don't remember like it taking long to blow up. I just remember one day like everyone was just on YouTube.
I mean, I was there during the apex. I'm a little older than you, a little.
Only a little.
But I remember when YouTube was this novelty, and as great as it is now, everyone just kind of like, well, this will probably never really amount to much. This is a great place to dump content. No one thought it could be a viable money-making machine.
That's the thing. Like, I think when it first came out, like none of us, I was never really thinking about it on like the business end, where I was like, this is a cool website. Also, everyone's on it, so that's awesome.
That's Twitter.
Yeah.
But YouTube did not Twitter itself.
Yes.
YouTube figured out how to capitalize. You got to wonder who the next one, because there's got to be another one coming.
Well, the reason that Twitter's able to capitalize, with YouTube, Twitter and YouTube, they're both ad-based platforms. And the crucial thing for advertising to make money for a company is it needs scale. And that's what YouTube has in spades. It has crazy scale. Like 3 billion people use YouTube or something like that. It's insane. Twitter doesn't have that. And
only 12 billion or 12 million of them are bots.
Twitter doesn't have that kind of scale. It's a fraction of it. So that's where the kind of power dynamic, the difference between the two. So that's why Twitter's also trying to go into this, hey, we're live. We're the live platform where live stuff happens. Live stream here. But they don't have the ability to kind of deliver on competitively because everyone wants to do live streaming.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm surprised Twitter, like, they're trying to become more of like a media organization now where I found out about the Syrian airstrike, like, through Twitter.
Me too.
And that was a push notification. I wasn't even on Twitter. I was, like, at dinner, and then I just saw it, like, oh, that's cool. Twitter's doing news now, I guess. But, yeah.
I do just
Did
find...
you get like a moment push
no.
notification?
Or was it was a push notification. From Twitter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't somebody that I followed.
Oh, interesting.
It was like from Twitter.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I just, like I said, seeing where YouTube came from, where YouTube went, and where YouTube's still going, it's fascinating from the perspective of how we have treated the internet and how we've consumed the internet, because the internet was the birthright for podcasting. Taking the traditional radio program that had since been named obsolete, the live talking, somebody telling you a story, a human being there that since got pushed to the side. No one wants to hear you talk. They just want to hear the same 4 songs over and over and over again. And then they brought back the podcast and an on-demand format. And now the internet's like, no, we want to re-energize live. We're there in the moment. Everyone's together. It's a water cooler. Everything's a digital water cooler now. I'm just curious to see where we go with that in YouTube and out of YouTube.
I think YouTube's going to be dominating that for a really long time. Unless, like, they make it easier to search on Amazon and Facebook, which have not been that fun. Even Twitter, it's like hard to find like live streams there.
Yeah. Facebook is definitely the most threatening to YouTube, but it's still unclear how Facebook is going to, what direction it's going to go.
Yeah.
How much it's going to want to eat YouTube's lunch, and how much it wants to eat like television's lunch. And
There are more than a few people in the chat that think that Twitter has kind of missed its opportunity.
oh, I hope not. I hope that Twitter doesn't totally die.
I don't think it's going to die anytime relatively soon, but they need to figure something out quick if they hope to hang on by a thread. Also, Yathu says you're a genius.
Thank you, Yathu.
And that's a good place to round it out since everybody knows everybody loves Joan.
It's white hack trolling.
All right, let's close it out for the day.
All right, thanks for watching again. If you'd like to check us out on CNET.com, we're also available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, FeedBurner, and Google Play Music. Dun, 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 dun.
All right.
We need to have the guns that shoot out like confetti when we get done.
We'll be back tomorrow, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
See ya.